If you would ask me what my favorite German sausage is, I wouldn't have to think twice. It's Nürnberger Bratwürstchen. They're small sausages that look a little bit like breakfast links, but they taste completely different and they are so much better. So let's take a look at the ingredients. You will need pork meat for this, and the quantities are 60% of the pork should come from the neck or shoulder, and 40% should be from the belly of the pork. So now I've bought 3.7 kilograms of overall meat here, and the ingredients that I will mention now, they will be per 1 kilogram of meat. So per each kilogram of meat that you buy, you will have to multiply it with this amount so you have the right quantity for your recipe. And if you're worried about the metric system, don't worry. On my blog post, you can switch the ingredients from metric system to US customary system back and forth, so you know how many ounces, how many grams this is, and so on, how many kilograms are pounds, and all these things. So let's get started. So first of all, you will need 18 grams of salt. Then you need 2 grams of pepper, 1 gram of mace, 1 gram of ginger, 1 gram of lemon powder, which is a dried lemon zest. Then you need half a gram of celery salt and 4 grams of MyGerman. So, and this, as I mentioned, is all per 1 kilogram of meat, and since I have 3.7 kilograms, I've multiplied all these ingredients by 3.7 and measured accordingly for my recipe today. What you will also need is a sheep casing. So I have this natural sheep casing here, which I will have to prepare at first because it has to be washed and soaked, and then I will continue by cutting the meat. I've washed the casing and it's now soaking in water here. Definitely not my favorite part of this, but yeah, it has to be done. Now I'm cutting the meat into smaller pieces so I can later put them through a grinder. Now that the meat is cut into smaller pieces, I'm now adding the spices. So first I mix them all together. Lots of salt. And I mix this a little bit. And this now goes onto the meat, and this makes it easier to mix it in than if I do it later after I ground it. Here I go again, grounded the meat. I think it's grounded the meat, as weird as it seems. It seems like a punishment for naughty meat, like when your kids are grounded. Always seems wrong to me, but I think someone said that's correct to say it. All right, so trying to get it everywhere. So, and I could grind it right now, but I won't. I have to cool it first. So this goes into the freezer for about 20 minutes because I want the outer side of the meat to be slightly frozen. While the meat is in the fridge, I want to mention the meat grinder that I'm using today. The last time I was making sausage, that was the Weißwurst. If you haven't watched that video, it's here. The last time I used an attachment for my KitchenAid, and it somehow worked, but it was no pleasure to work with it. It tilted away all the time. The overall situation was very high for me. I could barely see what I was putting inside on the top of this kind of tray. So it wasn't really easy to work with it. So now I have this meat grinder from Ayabosi, I think that's how it's pronounced. They sent this to me to try it out. They don't pay me for this video, just to make this clear, so you will find my honest opinion still. Yeah, so I assembled it, I read the instructions, I hope I did it all right. From the grinding blades, I'm using the middle one, so the middle size. Yeah, and I'm excited to try this out today. Okay, so this is nice and cold, and now I'm ready to grind the meat, and let's see. Okay, so I would say I have already ground about half of the meat, and I must say it works really well. Something got a little bit stuck in here a moment ago, and so I switched it to reverse, so it went kind of backwards, and then I switched it back to regular grinding, and the problem was solved immediately. So absolutely no problem. I must say I'm really impressed. It's very nice. It's much faster than the machine, than the attachment that I used with the KitchenAid. What's not so perfect is that I can't put a larger bowl underneath. As you can see, it won't fit, but that's a minor thing. So I will continue to grind my meat here, and we'll be back in a sec. Wow, that was fast. This went really well. I'm happy. Very nice. So now I will mix this with my hands again to make sure that the spices are mixed as good as possible. Alright, so now I want to stuff the casing, and if I understood the instructions correctly, I can just put this to the front. And I could have used this right from the beginning actually, but I wanted to mix the ingredients a little more before I stuff the sausage. So my main concern is now that this is maybe too large for the small sausage that I'm planning. Let's see. Okay, this is clearly too wide for the kind of sausage that I'm making here today. So I will have to think of something else. So here's plan B. I brought out my sausage stuffer, which I have. Since this is they're really very small sausages, that's why this didn't work with the machine. Other than that, it should have worked if it's a larger sausage, like if it's a Thüringer sausage or Franks. Okay. All right, so I hope you can see this all right. There you go. Okay, so I have to make a knot here at the end, and I'm not making the knot before I have the sausage filling all the way down here. Otherwise I would blow some air in there. Okay, so time to stuff this. And the sheep casing is quite delicate, so it rips very easily, so I have to be very careful not to overstuff it. All right, and I secured the end with a knot. And now let me show you how I space them. So they're about this wide, so a little more than a hand wide, or yeah, entire hand like this one. So I start and I turn this away from me, measure the next one, and turn this to me. And then I measure the next one and turn it away from me. And that's what I'm doing. I alternate turning it to me and then away from me. That's what it looks like. For my next step, I have prepared a pot of water, and I heated the water to 78 degrees Celsius, which is 172 degrees Fahrenheit. Now I will put all these, or at least as much as I can fit in there, sausages into this pot. And they will need to be completely submerged. And to achieve this, I will use a lid upside down and put it on top to make sure that all the sausages are underwater. Okay, and it has to stay in here for 25 minutes at this temperature. Now, after 25 minutes, I can take these sausages out of the water. Just so you know, this is just the first batch. I have another batch here. So this is quite a bit of sausage that I made today. Now just take these all out. Okay, let's just put the next batch on the stove, and then I tell you what to do with these sausages. Okay, so I can now divide these sausages so that they are single. And now the next question is, how do we eat and serve them? And you will find these sausages very often on a farmer's market, grilled, so people who go shopping on the farmer's market can just stop there, have some sausage, and with a little bit of white bread as a side and some spicy mustard. And yeah, we have just like a snack there, and then we move on and keep shopping. And the smell of these sausages is just amazing everywhere and really attracts people. So there are lots of stands who really have these sausage fresh from the grill. At home, I Sometimes just fry them in a pan, but my favorite way to eat them is when they are from the grill. And if you really want them authentic, you can grill them on a charcoal grill. That's when they taste best, but it's not very healthy. I think you know that already. However, I will grill them a little later, but first I have to finish all my work here. And just in case that you're wondering what I'm doing with all these sausages, I will freeze most of them and take them out every now and then to have some of the Nürnberger Bratwurst. It actually took me a couple of days to get to this grilling part. We had some thunderstorms for a few days, and now finally the sun is out again, and I will grill my sausage now. Okay, so most of these sausages look already very good. I think it's time to serve them, and I want to show you how we are doing this at the sausage stand. So you get one of these rectangular paper plates, and they will put like 3 of these sausages on there, like this. And then they will add some mustard and throw in a little bit of bread. And this little piece of the paper plate can be torn off like this, and then it is used to grab the sausage so you can eat it. Let's see. Best sausage, trust me on that. Nürnberger Bratwurst is also sometimes served in a cut open roll. That's another way to serve it. If I'm not doing them on the grill or buying them at the sausage stand, I would eat them with some sauerkraut, like the cream sauerkraut that I have on another video that I can highly recommend. So there are lots of ways to eat the sausage. They are delicious on themselves though, and I can highly recommend them. So this concludes my video about the Nürnberger Bratwurst. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe, click the bell button, and stay tuned for another video coming up soon.